At our family reunion, I organized $6,500 on decor, dinner, and family flights, my cousin said. He brought Grandpa? Ugh. My aunt sneered. He doesn't belong here. I said nothing. I just smiled, stood by Grandpa, and cut off their $1,200 monthly gift with a legal notice the next morning. It's embarrassing that you brought Grandpa, my cousin Marissa whispered, sipping her Chardonnay like she was on the Real Housewives of Indiana. Ugh. I didn't even flinch. Just held her gaze across the rented lodge hall in Bloomington and smiled. Aunt Diane, sitting 3 seats down next to the custom fondue station I paid extra for, leaned into her wine and muttered loud enough for the nearby cousins to hear, "He doesn't belong here. Come on. What's he even doing here?" I stood behind Grandpa's wheelchair. He was wearing his old army blazer, the one with the missing button and the bronze pin he never talks about. His hearing aid was off. Thank God. He didn't hear them. But I did. I looked around the banquet hall. Every detail was mine. The garlands, the string lights, the professional photographer near the generations of love backdrop. I'd flown in relatives from 4 states, chartered transport from Cleveland, and prepaid for 80 steak dinners with vegan options. Cost me exactly $6,482, not counting the cash tip I gave the jazz band warming up in the corner. I even booked this weekend on Memorial Day for Grandpa. Because he served. Because he mattered. But to them, he was an inconvenience. A reminder of something old and fragile. A detail that didn't fit the Instagram aesthetic. I tightened my grip on the wheelchair handles. "You doing okay, Grandpa?" I asked softly. He nodded with watery eyes. "Haven't seen the family in so long," he whispered. "Thanks for bringing me, son. I really needed this." I smiled at him. And in that moment, while the cousins laughed at private jokes and my aunt scrolled her phone, I made a decision. Not with drama. Not with rage. With calm. The next morning, I emailed Aunt Diane and Marissa a PDF. Subject line: termination of monthly disbursement. The $1,200 I'd been quietly wiring them for the last 3 years, tuition help, rent floats, whatever they called it, was done. Legally. Permanently. No more. Because if Grandpa doesn't belong here, neither does my money. And that was just the first domino. For 3 years, I was the guy who made the family work. The glue. The fixer. I paid Marissa's rent during her gap year, which somehow turned into 2 years of streaming herself crying on TikTok. I co-signed Aunt Diane's second mortgage when she accidentally defaulted on her first. I even helped Cousin Todd get his truck back after he lost it in a DUI mess he still swears was just a misunderstanding. Every single one of them, every grinning face at that reunion, had taken something from me. Money, favors, rides to rehab, recommendations I wrote for people I barely liked. But they never said thank you. Not once. Because they didn't see it as help. They saw it as debt repayment. "You owe us, remember?" Marissa once texted me when I told her I couldn't float her rent again. Because when my mom died and Dad left me with Grandpa while he found himself in Arizona, it was Diane who took me in. For 3 months. When I was 9. I guess 3 months of couch space equals $47,000 in lifetime IOUs. And they never let me forget it. After I cut off the payments, I stayed quiet. No post. No statement. Just silence. It took less than a week for the text to start. "Marissa. You forgot the rent." Then, "Tell me this is a joke, LOL." Then, "Are you seriously doing this over Grandpa? That's sick." Aunt Diane went full mob boss by day 3. "I don't know what kind of power trip you're on, but you better figure it out fast. Your mother would be ashamed." The mother card. Always the mother card. Funny, because Mom never once said a bad word about Grandpa. Even when Dad tried to rewrite history after her funeral, claiming Grandpa was never really part of the family. A lie I believed until I started going through Mom's old emails 2 months ago and found years of private conversations with Grandpa. Sweet ones. Loving. Full of worry about me. About what would happen to me if I stayed too close to the family. Guess I finally got my answer. The blowback didn't stop at the messages. For days after the reunion, a post showed up on Facebook. A public one. From Aunt Diane, complete with a photo from the event, a wide shot of the hall. And in the corner, there I was, standing behind Grandpa's wheelchair. Her caption? "Some people throw money around to feel important. But real family shows up with love, not cameras and receipts. So blessed to have real support from my beautiful daughter." Real support? I paid for her flight. And Marissa's hotel. And their Uber from the airport. but they loved to rewrite the story. So I let them. For 3 days. While I pulled files, receipts, screenshots, and one audio recording from last Thanksgiving. That one was the gold mine. Here's what happened. Grandpa was living in a one-bedroom assisted living facility outside Indianapolis. I visited him every other week. Quiet visits. No one knew. One afternoon, I showed up early and caught Aunt Diane in his apartment. She didn't hear me at first. Her voice echoed from the kitchen. "You're lucky he pays for this place," she was saying. "But don't get used to it, old man. He's not going to keep this up forever. Once he gets a girlfriend, you're back in a home." I stood in the hallway, recording on. My hands were shaking. She walked out, saw me, and froze. "Oh, just talking," she said with a smile. "He gets confused sometimes." I smiled back. "Yeah, so do you." I held that recording until the day the Facebook post dropped. Then I sent it to every family group chat. No caption, just the file. 1 minute and 30 seconds of Aunt Diane's voice. The message bubbles went still for hours. No typing, no reactions, just digital silence. Until Todd's sweet, useless Todd broke it. "Dude, are you spying on us?" That's when I dropped the folder. A full Google Drive link. Screenshots. Bank transfers. A breakdown of every monthly gift I've been sending. Voice messages. Emails. The invoice from the jazz band, highlighted with, "Requested by Marissa." Then the last item, a scan of Grandpa's living will, updated, signed, and notarized. With me as legal guardian. And a little note Grandpa handwrote at the bottom. "Because you're the only one who never lied to my face." They lost their minds. Marissa DM'd me 32 times in one night, flipping between begging and threatening. Aunt Diane posted a now-deleted status about mental instability and family manipulators. Todd went full conspiracy theorist and accused me of planting evidence. I don't think he knows how Google Drive works. And me? I booked a cabin for Grandpa and me upstate for the week. No service. No drama. Just some real jazz on vinyl and a man who actually smiled when he saw me walk into the room. But I wasn't done. Because what they didn't know was that the $1,200 a month wasn't even the full amount I'd been sending them. There were side payments. Venmo, Cash App, grocery deliveries, tax help. Over $19,000 in 2023 alone. And I had every receipt. The question was, when to go public. Because people like them don't just learn. They only understand loss. And I was just getting started. It was Marissa's 30th birthday. Of course, she threw a party. At a vineyard. In Michigan. With a guest list that included half the extended family and a drone photographer. And despite the meltdown after the reunion, I got an invite. Well, technically, I wasn't invited. I was CC'd on the invite with 40 others. No message. No direct contact. But I RSVP'd, yes. I wasn't coming to celebrate. I was coming to finish it. I didn't come alone. I brought Grandpa. In a charcoal suit. Fresh haircut. Polished shoes. He looked better than half the guests there. And I brought a flash drive. The vineyard had a presentation room. You know, one of those sleek wood-paneled halls with a screen, projector, and Bluetooth speakers. Marissa rented it for the slideshow. Memories of Marissa, the agenda said. Right before champagne toasts. I waited until the lights dimmed and people settled in. Marissa stood at the front, grinning in a $700 rental dress. Aunt Diane was already misty-eyed. She clicked the remote to start the slideshow. That's when I stepped forward. "Actually," I said calmly, "can I just say a few words before we start?" There was a beat of awkward silence. Then Marissa's fake smile froze in place. I guess," she said. "Keep it short." "Oh, it'll be short," I said, plugging in the flash drive. The screen flickered, and then a recording played. Her voice. "He's not going to keep this up forever, old man. Once he gets a girlfriend, you're back in a home." Gasps. Audible ones. Someone coughed. Aunt Diane actually whispered, "Oh my God." I let it run for 10 more seconds. Then clicked Next. And the Google Drive folder appeared. Slide by slide. $1,200 monthly payments to Diane and Marissa, listed by date. Grocery orders I paid for under Todd's name. Screenshot of Marissa asking me to fake a W-2 for a rental app. Venmo receipts for therapy that turned out to be a bachelorette spa weekend. Then the texts. The one where Marissa called Grandpa. He's just barely there these days. The one where Aunt Diane said, "Let's keep him alive long enough to get the condo." And then the video from Thanksgiving. I'd installed a doorbell cam at Grandpa's apartment a year ago. They didn't know. On screen, Aunt Diane showing up unannounced, letting herself in with the emergency key I'd given her. He doesn't need cable, she's saying in the video. Maybe we don't need cable, just seems like wasted money. Then she opens his medication drawer. Still too many left. We could probably stretch this another week. The room went dead silent. Marissa's face turned white. Grandpa sat quietly in his seat, staring at the screen like he was watching a documentary about someone else's life, until he turned to Diane and said, loud and clear, "I remember that day. You told me you loved me and took my wallet when I went to the bathroom." Then he looked at me. "Play the last one." I nodded and hit play. It was a voicemail. "Aunt Diane, for days after I cut off the money, we took you in. We raised you. You wouldn't have anything if it weren't for us. You owe us, and you owe him. He's been hanging on since '09. No one expected that. You keeping him alive is just dragging this out." She didn't know she was being recorded, but now the whole family knew. I unplugged the flash drive and looked around. No one was clapping. Todd looked like he wanted to crawl into the wine barrels. Cousin Becky had her hand over her mouth, whispering "oh wow" to her boyfriend. Even the vineyard staff was frozen in the corner. Then, from the back of the room, someone stood up. It was Uncle Rick. Quiet guy. Never got involved. He pointed at Aunt Diane and said, "You told us he was delusional. You said he was draining your money. You said you were paying for everything." Then he looked at Marissa. "You took money from him and posted about manifesting abundance like you earned something." She tried to speak, but someone else stood up. Then another. Then Grandpa. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. He turned to the crowd and said, "I never asked for their money. But they never asked if I was okay, either." Then he looked at Marissa, and his voice sharpened. "You want a birthday toast? Here it is. I may be old, but I'm not blind. And the day you called me dead weight was the day you stopped being family." I stepped forward one last time. Took the mic. "I want to make something very clear," I said. "This isn't revenge. This is correction. They thought money meant silence. That guilt meant obedience. That I was the ATM in the corner and Grandpa was the sympathy prop. No more." I reached into my bag and pulled out the final envelope. Stamped and signed by a lawyer. "The monthly support has been terminated. The accounts are closed. The taxes are filed. And starting today, any attempt to contact either of us will go through legal counsel." And Diane opened her mouth, but I cut her off. No more texts. No more crying voicemails. No more, but family speeches. You gambled with the one person who actually cared about this family's legacy. And you lost. Grandpa and I walked out of that room together. No applause. Just silence and stares. And the click of my dress shoes on the hardwood floor. Behind me, the screen was still glowing. Paused on the slide titled, "Real Family." And it wasn't their faces on it anymore. It was just me and him. And for once, that was enough. The video went live the next morning at 7 a.m. No dramatic music. No clickbait thumbnail. Just a simple title on a black screen. What they did to Grandpa. What they did to me. I uploaded it to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and a Dropbox mirror because I knew they'd try to report it. 17 minutes long. It started with the clip of Aunt Diane in Grandpa's apartment. Then the voicemail. Then a quiet monologue from me, sitting in a dim room, staring into the camera. I never wanted this to be public. I really didn't. But when your own family lies about you, steals from you, and calls the man who raised you dead weight, you stop protecting them. You stop editing the truth. And you show people exactly who they are. Then I showed the receipts. Tens of thousands of dollars sent. Screenshots of Marissa's Instagram captions about abundance 2 days after I paid her overdraft fees. Venmo notes. "Groceries, thank you. Can't make rent again, LOL. You were literally my second dad." Then the text from Diane last Christmas. "If you really cared about family, you'd cover the roof repairs. Marissa's doing her best, okay." Underneath it, the receipt for a rooftop hot tub install. I ended the video with a pan across the living room of Grandpa's new place, our place. I'd moved him in with me. A sunny guest room. TV. Fresh carpet. Fully ADA accessible bathroom. The whole thing funded by me. He looked into the camera and said, "My son didn't abandon me. He saved me." I hit publish and closed my laptop. By noon, it had 11,000 views. By dinner, 78,000. 2 hashtags started trending locally. Hashtag family by choice. Hashtag justice for Grandpa. I got emails from nurses who recognized the facility Diane used to dump him in. One of them wrote, "He was always sweet, just confused why nobody ever visited." An editor from a regional news site reached out. So did a podcast. So did a lawyer offering pro bono help if Marissa or Diane tried to sue for defamation. But the best message came at 11:08 p.m. From Marissa's ex. "You don't know me, but I've been waiting for someone to say it. Marissa stole $4,000 from me in 2020. I have the texts. Let me know if you want them." I did. And I got them. Diane posted that night, of course. A Facebook novel. Families go through seasons. Some choose to shame others online instead of healing. I pray for you. It got 12 likes. Half of them from accounts I'm pretty sure she made herself. Then came the damage control. First, Marissa deleted everything. Her Instagram went dark. TikTok gone. Even her Etsy shop vanished. Then, Todd posted a shaky video of himself rambling about how blood is thicker than screenshots. It got downvoted into oblivion. Aunt Diane tried to twist the narrative on LinkedIn, of all places. She posted a lesson about resilience and betrayal and how being the scapegoat builds character. One comment, "This you," with a link to my video. But I wasn't done, because while they scrambled to rewrite the story, I dropped part 2 of the series. Title: The Real Cost of Being the Family Wallet. This one had charts. A breakdown of every penny sent to Marissa and Diane since 2020. Labeled, dated, annotated. The closing line: "If I'm just the wallet, consider this my receipt." That week, I launched something I'd been planning for months, but never had the nerve to publish. A website. A resource hub for people supporting toxic families. Articles. Forums. Testimonies. The homepage banner. Love doesn't mean limitless access. I hired a friend to run the socials. Within 72 hours, the account had 50,000 followers. I woke up one morning to see a post of Grandpa and me on Reddit. Title: This guy took down his entire freeloading family and protected his grandpa. I want to be like him. Thousands of upvotes. Messages from strangers saying, "Thank you. I thought I was crazy. You gave me the courage to cut off my abusers." And then my inbox pinged again. From a woman named Jennifer. She wrote, "I work at a local charity that supports elder abuse victims. We saw your story. Would you and your grandfather be open to speaking at one of our events?" I asked Grandpa. He smiled, nodded, and said, "Let's give them something they can't lie about." Meanwhile, Diane tried to file a restraining order. Filed it, then immediately withdrew it once she realized it would make all my evidence public. Marissa claimed emotional distress and tried to crowdsource legal fees on GoFundMe. It got taken down in 18 hours after someone linked my video in the comments and posted screenshots of her bragging about the vineyard party. She posted a story on a burner Instagram with a black screen and white text. "You think you've won, but you'll always be alone." I screenshotted it, saved it, and ignored it, because I wasn't alone. That weekend, Grandpa and I sat on the porch of our new place, sipping lemonade. He looked out over the garden and said, "You know what the best part is? You didn't yell. You just let the truth speak." I laughed. "Nah," I said. I shouted it. Just in receipts. Then I checked my phone. A message from a cousin I hadn't heard from in 5 years. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. If I had, I would have spoken up." I didn't reply. Not yet. Because this part wasn't about them anymore. This was about me. And him. And the house we built without their lies. It's been 4 months since Marissa's birthday. 3 since I dropped the second video. 2 since Aunt Diane tried to accidentally bump into me at a farmer's market and got ignored like expired yogurt. And 1 week since Grandpa stood on a stage and said, "My son saved my life by walking away from the rest of it." The silence since has been golden. No texts. No voicemails. No, "Can you help just this once?" I changed my number. I locked my credit. I moved Grandpa into my house and changed every lock that ever led to me. They say blood is thicker than water? Great. So is concrete. Grandpa's thriving. He FaceTimes with a woman named June now. She sends him banana bread and calls him young man. I've never seen him grin like that. And me? I bought a small place downtown. White walls. A coffee machine. No drama. Just space. For me. For peace. Diane still posts cryptic stuff. Some people just want to hurt others. So I bought a billboard outside her town. White text. Black background. Not broken. Just done being quiet. Me and Grandpa. It stayed up 3 weeks. Worth every cent. And then, 2 days ago, I saw Marissa. It wasn't planned. I was in line at a coffee shop. She turned, froze, clutched her overpriced matcha like it might protect her. She looked different. Smaller. Not physically. Just deflated. She opened her mouth, like she might say something. I didn't flinch. Didn't nod. Didn't blink. I turned to the barista and said, "I'll have what she's having, but I'll pay for it myself." Then I walked out, my coffee in one hand, peace in the other. Because I've learned one thing. I didn't ruin the family. I just stopped funding the lie. We visited the vineyard last weekend. The same one from the birthday. For sale, sign out front. Rust creeping up the gates. I snapped a photo. Posted it with, "Karma ages like wine." Then we drove home. Made coffee. Sat on the porch. And breathed. No more knocks. No more guilt. No more what ifs. Even if they found the address again, I wouldn't open the door. Not even for a blood transfusion.